Welcome back to Legends in My Own Mind. We are here for week 2 with the legend in my mind, Central Illinois' monster, the beast, one and only Truk Thompson. What's up, man?
Oh, slow motion, man. Just staying in there. Stay moving. That's the most important part.
Good, man. Motion is the lotion, right?
Yeah. Whoa.
Oh, good goodness. That's not what I meant.
Yeah. If you've only been part of the prior conversation, right. You know I'm proper.
All right, man. Well, thank you for coming back. You good?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for coming back, man. We are here for the second week. So glad you did this, man. This week I want to talk about. Last week we talked about your whole wrestling career, everything you've been through. This week I want to get a little more in depth, and I kind of want to talk about like how you developed as a wrestler, how you became a wrestler. You know, not like how you became a wrestler, but how you went from being a trainee to being a wrestler, and feeling like you can do this. You know, and being the legend that we all know you are.
Mm-hmm.
So. We'll just kind of start, man. We talked last week. You started with GAW.
Mm-hmm.
Jumped right into training. Took bumps. Loved it right away.
Jumped right into a show.
Yeah, man. After a month, you were ready. What are some of the kind of maybe like the early lessons you remember?
Oh man. I'm trying. Number one, don't be a 300-pound guy doing a moonsault off the top rope. That's lesson number one. It still sounds like gravel in my neck to this day. I mean, the first thing that comes to my head is just, proper training. That's probably the number one thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I've had, I don't know how many concussions you've had from probably the trainings, working with guys that weren't properly trained or not knowing. I guess that'd be, like knowing who you're working with.
Mm-hmm.
Really sit down and talk to who you're going to have a match with, especially if it's somebody you don't know.
Right.
Especially, a lot of guys will travel around, they'll have a trainee with them. And if you're going to have a match with that trainee, let's find out what he knows.
Right.
Not just talk the talk, but walk the walk. I've had a few of those matches where I got to wrestle the trainee and, they talk the game like they knew what they were doing. And when we get in the ring, it's... But I mean, that's the lesson. Number one lesson is just know who you're working and make sure they've had the proper training. Make sure you're in proper shape to be able to do the work. Because I've had more concussions than I wish upon anybody.
Mm-hmm.
The whole neck gravel thing from doing the moonsault off the top rope like an idiot. I gave it a shot. I Brock Lesnar in it. I can. That's the first one that pops in my head because that was probably the biggest injury I had. Was, I got on the top rope and they're we had a crash pad.
Right.
There wasn't anybody really there that knew how to do moonsault.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys had done it, but not well enough to be able to show somebody else. So they could do it. And
there's guys that just naturally get that. I don't necessarily want to call it. I mean, I guess it's athleticism, but guys who just feel natural jumping and moving their body through the air.
Yeah, not me. Not me.
Right.
I fall. That's what I do. And that's what got on the top rope and went for it. And they told me what to do. And they said I had beautiful motion, and then it just stopped. And I pile drive myself off the top rope. Basically, what it turned into. Thankfully enough, we had a crash pad there. But I'll never forget, man. I landed right on top of my head. And I couldn't move. I was laying there on the mat, and I'm laying face down. I had my head to the side, and I couldn't move my fingers. I couldn't move my toes. And what felt like an eternity was probably only really 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And then numbness started coming in through my fingers and toes, and I started moving them. I remember that though. That was the longest moment. My wife at the time, I was thinking to myself, this, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to explain this? That's the first. I was scared to death. Like, she's going to kill me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm like, I'm quadriplegic.
Right. Yep. Just paralyzed myself.
Yeah. And that was, know your limits. That's probably if you have a limit, learn how to get past it. Don't just, jump into the deep end, which is what I did.
Yeah. Man, thank God there was a crash pad there and not just coming right down on the mat.
I'd have been done.
Yeah.
I would have been the lesson learned at that time.
Yeah.
That would have been scary. It was scary.
Yeah. Still scary.
Yeah.
Man.
And I don't think I've always been the Hulk Hogan in my wrestling. I don't think I've ever. I think I tried to get up on the ropes once since then, and then I get that shaky feeling. I'm good. This is it. I'm a ground assault guy.
Well, it's I mean, not that it's unnecessary, but it's not necessary for everybody to need to do that,
Yeah. I always wanted to be a guy to at least, to have that match to where, things could fit right. I could do it.
Yeah.
And after that wasn't going to happen. That was it. I hate to say that I'm gun shy, but I'm kind of stuttering thinking about it.
Well, man, I don't know. I don't think you ever. Yeah, I've seen some of the bigger guys who can do that. You know what I mean? Then become like that becomes their thing. Like I as somebody, if I were your trainer, to look back, I would encourage you not to do that stuff. A guy your size climbing up, doing moonsaults, doing backflip, it's cool, but I've seen bigger guys who feel like they need to do that stuff because they end up looking up to small guys. It's so weird. There's this thing in wrestling where the little guys look up to the small guys and the big guys or the little guys look up to the big guys and the big guys look up to the small guys.
Yeah.
And it's so weird. And I think it's that kind of I can't do that. I wish I could do that. The big guys see the little guys doing all the flips and oh man, that's so cool because I can't do it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then the little guys tend to look up to the big guys like, man, I wish I was that big. I wish I was strong.
Constantly. I can't pick nobody up over my head.
Right. I'd like to do some power moves. I wish I could power bomb people. That looks like fun. Whatever.
How many times you had a little guy come up to you and say, "Hey, let me power. Let me give you a power bomb." No.
Yeah. I don't get that too much, man. Honestly, I've had more. There's more times where I'm putting a spot together and I'm like, you can just do this to me, I just hit me with a body slam here or something, and they're like, well, I don't think I could. Oh man, you're too big to body slam. And I'm like, oh man, it's a body slam, bro. You're not gorilla pressing me. So I run into that more than I run into others. Then I've run into small guys wanting to power bomb me when they shouldn't.
Yeah, I can't say I've had a few that said they want to do a gorilla press or let me do something stupid off top rope. I'm like, nah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You're I ate something like you this morning for breakfast. Right. It's not.
I've also run into more guys who thought they could do stuff to me that couldn't, bigger guys that have press slammed smaller guys. You know what I mean?
And they think
they could maybe get me up or and we get up there and they're they can't get me up or whatever. I've run into more guys like that.
Yeah, and I think I've had that a few times as well. Where, and I pride myself on the ability to look bigger than I'm at the time when I was looking healthy and I had my little 4 or 5 almost 6-pack at the time.
Yeah.
I didn't look as heavy as I really was.
Right.
A lot of guys, let me power bomb, let me power gorilla press you. I'm like, I'm 275, bro.
Yeah.
This is not.
You ain't getting 275. You lift 275? You don't look like you lift 275. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
For sure. All right, so man, we talked very early. Starting to get into matches after a month. You got through your training. You learned your lesson not to throw stuff you shouldn't throw.
Mm-hmm.
How do you start to learn how to work a match?
Oh boy, let's see. We'll fast forward quite a bit.
Okay.
I think at the time
did they teach you? I mean, when you were training at 3CW, did they teach you match work? Did they just teach you moves? Like, how did that? You're in a match after a month. How did they get you there?
Well, yeah, at GAW we did. It was a lot of international, like a lot of international. You know, I've blocked it from my brain because
drop down.
Yeah, throw a line, hip toss.
Yeah, hip toss, throw a line, arm drag.
I've blocked it from my brain because that's all we did. And if you ever come to an early GAW show, every match had an international in it.
Yep.
And we did a lot of those. There wasn't really a whole lot of ring like psychology work at all. It was mostly just that spot over and over and over and over again. And I remember Don and KC, they came down and they started doing a lot of training with us. And that's where I feel like that's where it really broke through to learn how to put a match together.
Okay.
I remember one of my first trainings with KC was, you know, it's not just throwing a punch. Anybody can throw a punch, but it's that facial expression. You know,
put some snarl in it. Put some snarl.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's
right. Yep.
dull and boring, but when you throw into it, and then now it's a show.
Yeah.
And that's where it all really started to come together, where it started to begin to, like, oh wow, that's what those guys have been doing all those years. I've been watching wrestling. Yeah, no, okay, click.
Light comes on.
Yeah, and so I started doing that with everything, not just not just a kick, but like kind of wind it up a little bit and then kick, wind up the hand a little bit and kick. Yeah, just throw a little stank on everything I did.
There you go.
Try to snarl, try to growl, try to interact with the crowd.
Yeah.
And that's I'd say the next stage was working with the animals.
Okay.
And they were God rest Steve and Mitch, fantastic guys. They were when they come down to trainings, that's all they would work on was how to work the crowd. You know, how to get the crowd involved, what to do. You know, watch the crowd, how they're reacting, what you're doing. And if it's not working, change it.
Yep.
You know, and they're one of the guys that showed us the difference between somebody that is, like at the time, you know, everybody's like, oh, if the crowd isn't cheering, they're not into it.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, that's not the case at all. You know, if they're doing this, you know, looking up and counting how many lights are in the ceiling, or they're taking a piss, then they're not interested. But if they're sitting watching the match, well, they're interested.
Sometimes they're waiting for the reason to cheer.
Yeah. Not the whole match doesn't have to be a spot,
right?
Lead up into it. It's no different than watching a movie.
Yeah.
You build your match around that, and then boom, that's when you get the crowd to pop for you.
But yeah, the crowd's not supposed to be cheering the entire time.
Yeah,
they're supposed to be up and down, and absolutely.
Yeah, and that was not really. I'd say that was. Like I said, that was probably the first times that was really explained to me, or explained to me the way I understood it. Yeah, maybe that's why I want to word that. So yeah, then I got that roller coaster effect and learning how to get people's attention.
Yeah.
The in ring work, as far as my skill to wrestle, I never really felt I didn't get a good training on that until I started training around, like moving around, or with all the clinics and then moving around. I could do the basics, you know, hip toss, body slam. There really wasn't any back body drops, no fancy suplex, you know, fisherman or you know, Russian, or any suplex at all. There was none, no Germans. You know, just the basics, bottom line basics, and
which I think is all you need. But
oh, don't get me wrong. Yeah, I'm a basics guy, and I think I agree with you wholeheartely. But you do want to throw a little extra into it every once in a while.
You want to do more.
I don't think, you know, even though the wrestling nowadays is entertaining, like I just watched the last NXT episode where they did Adam Cole and Bro. There's like 3 Canadian drivers in that. You know, three Canadian powder. You know, come on. You know, let me do that to you in real life.
Right.
And I'm all about the show, and I'm all about the entertainment. But there has to be a little bit of believability behind it.
Yeah.
And those guys eliminated it completely.
Yep.
You know, when you're doing a suplex from the top rope to the outside, you come in and get a guy 2 Canadian drivers. Yeah, and the believability was what my favorite part of the training and my favorite part of the wrestling is the whole. I don't know I guess the magic of it. I mean, to be honest with you, you know, to make people think, you know, maybe it really is hurt.
Yeah.
Maybe you know. there's still some, as they're driving home, like, oh, that was, that really, not, you think about 3 Canadian drivers, obviously it's fake.
Right. Yeah, that was a cool gymnastics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And
for sure.
It's fun to watch. And I'm not going to say I don't watch it. I do, but there's zero believability behind it.
Yeah. So, okay, so you're starting to get that, you're starting to think about that believability. You're starting to learn a little, like, the crowd doesn't need to be up. The crowd doesn't need to be up the whole time. We can take them on a roller coaster. When you start implementing that, how do you feel? Do you notice that right away? Like, did you have a moment where you felt it? How did it integrate into your game?
It didn't really start until I started working for New Midwest.
Okay.
That's where I made that transition from being a face to heel. I'd been a face for, it was like 3 years, 4 years. I didn't know how to be a heel.
Right.
I got to be a heel, and I did a lot of work with Justin. That I give a lot of credit to Justin on my heel transition and what to do and how to do to piss people off.
Mm-hmm.
One thing Justin was good at.
Man, he was
pissing people off.
Was an expert. He was an expert.
Sorry. So
you're good, man.
So, but yeah, he taught me how to watch. If you just piss one guy off and piss him off bad enough, you'll have that whole side pissed off at you. And fast forward to the other day I did some training with Jake Roberts. He said the exact same word for word, and I was like, wow, that's credit where it's due. That was pretty cool, But yeah, he's like, Jake Roberts was like, I think he said throw a match in a hay pile, and that's what pretty much the same thing.
Yep.
But yeah, and that's where I felt as a face, you pretty much just pile on the sympathy. You get the sympathy, and then you get the pop.
Yeah.
And that's what I felt like it was pretty boring to be a face. I loved it. I loved the crowd interaction. I love, especially the kids. They want to come up and, hug the hero and get an autograph. But as a heel, you can do whatever you want, as much as you want. And that's when you really get that roller coaster. You give the face their time, and you take your time. And the best part was you take as much time as you want.
Right.
And the more time you take, it's almost like the better the pop.
Yeah.
You bring them back down, piss them off, and then piss them off for a long time, and then better to pop, and then just give them a little bit. And I felt like I was able to play with that. Or I was able to get the crowd to really hate me, and then give the face their moment, just for a shining moment. And then, like I said, I played heel for a while, and that gave me the ability to see where look through it.
It makes you a better face.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
When you come back, when you can see a match from both sides.
Yep.
It's all of a sudden you're a more complete wrestler on either side.
Yeah. And that was so when I came back as a face, and I could also see how to make that transition from heel to face.
Right.
Instead of, you're 1 week you're heel, next week you're a face.
Yeah.
Where I would play it out. Like, the promoter would come up and say, hey, we're gonna, we're turning your face. I'm like, well, it's not gonna be today. Well, that's what we wanted to do. Well, that's not what we're gonna do. I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm going to, I'll be a little face today. Next week, I'll a little bit more, and then I will be complete face. Like, I don't want to just be like, come out there and, hey, we hated this guy last week. Now he's our best friend. I hate that. That drives me nuts. At least, not that the circumstance isn't always there. You can do that under certain situations.
Yeah.
But I think anytime there's a storyline, most of the time that should be the transition. So that way the crowd can really understand the third dimension to why this guy's turning the way he's turning.
Yep. Yeah. The storyline's always when you take the crowd on a ride with you. It's always going to sink in a little deeper than if you're just like, well, I was a bad guy last time, a good guy this time.
Yeah.
Regardless. Sometimes when you're traveling around a little more, it's a little less of an issue. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, obviously, if I'm in St. Clair this week and Springfield next week, like, I can, whatever you need me to be, I'll be there. But then the next time I'm in St. Clair, I should probably be the same. Like, if I was a heel in St. Clair last time, I should not be a face in St. Clair this time.
I think you being about as big as me, you probably had the same issue I had. Anytime you traveled somewhere near or somewhere around, more than likely you were the heel. Yeah.
That wasn't a problem for me. That's my comfort zone, man. That's my bread and butter. That's where I need to be at. So.
It's fun. Yeah. Without a doubt, a whole lot more fun to be the heel. Yeah, I was always traveling around. I was always the bad guy, putting over the little good guy. Yeah. The little guy, 120 pounds, got the heavyweight title. We want you to make our guy look big.
Yeah. I can't make him look big, man. I can't make him grow 2 inches and gain 3 pounds. I can make him look like he can beat a big guy.
Yeah.
But I cannot make him look big.
Yeah, there ain't nothing gonna make him look huge unless you want to hire one of those midget guys down there. I can bring my daughter if you want. That might work. But yeah.
All right, man. So when did you? So when did you feel like I got this? You know what I mean? I mean, we talked about some of your moments last week where you felt like never.
Okay. I want that. Like I always wanted to. Yeah. I never wanted to feel like I got this because I feel like when you're in that situation where you're like, oh, there's nothing else for me to learn, you're done.
Well, I don't think there's. I think there's a difference between.
Oh, okay.
I get what you're saying.
I see.
Like I definitely think there's a difference between feeling like confident. I know what I'm doing. Yeah. Like when did you feel like did you reach a point where you felt like you could go work with anybody and have a good match, or like you were? When did you feel that confidence of like, you know what, I understand how to do this thing? Maybe I still have a lot to learn, can always keep learning.
Yeah.
obviously. I mean, there's definitely guys that are out there that are like, I know everything. And guess what? Your match sucks, bro. but
and say you speak from experience. Yeah, I've seen a few of those guys.
Right. You know them.
Uh-huh.
The guys who think they know everything, they always have the most to learn. Right. But so for you, like, when did you get that confidence of like, okay, I know how to do this thing, let's do it?
I'd say without a doubt it was during that transition from GAW to New Midwest. When I started really working out, started traveling around.
Right.
I couldn't tell you the exact match. It was almost kind of like the way I explained from going from face to heel.
Yeah.
Because I had a very long time in my career, the beginning of the career, where I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't clue what I was doing.
Right.
Definitely didn't need to be in a ring. I had kind of an idea, and I'd like to say that most of my wrestling training at that time was from watching wrestling when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And the ability to play the crowd. But yeah, I never really had that one match where I was like, oh yeah, this is that moment. I felt like where I had. My matches started getting better and better and better and better and better. But I always, every time I'd have, 4 or 5 good matches in a row, I'd always have that one drizzling doo-doo match where it was just like, oh man, maybe I don't have this.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And I was like, man, what did I do wrong? And then I'll go through my head and I'll play it over and over again, and then I'll beat myself up to the point of where maybe I suck. And then I'll have that one match where, like the last match I had with Justin.
Yeah.
Great match. Fantastic. My last match with PWA. That was great, man. That was a blast. That was hard because it was like, man, this was so much fun. I don't know if I want. I don't want to sit on the side for a while. Like I'll come back next week. Oh, you're good. Nothing spilled. Sorry about that. You're gonna edit that out, right?
Yeah, I'll cut that.
Okay, cut it down.
Nah, you're fine.
There's never really any one match. I can tell you. You know what? Yeah, I'll say the moment I fell in love with. Nah, that's not the right. I'm trying to think of a good analogy and way to put it. But man, just during that transition was when I can't think of any one single match that was the moment, or even. I'd say my New Midwest days, that was good. I had a lot of guys that were starting to ask me, how their matches were, and I feel like that was, because being the guy that started, and you go up and you ask, you always want to ask the guy that knows what's going on. What do you think? That was probably, New Breed. Sorry, New Breed. When I was wrestling for them, that helped.
Yeah, what helped about it?
Just be able to let me know, give me that reassuring that I'm getting better.
Okay.
So
just kind of like it sounds to me like you're talking about kind of like a confluence of things here, right? So you're starting to feel more comfortable in your matches. They go, each one goes a little smoother and a little smoother and a little smoother, and then so you're feeling good about that. Then you start to see other guys who are coming up asking you how they did. So you're feeling, that obviously gives you a little bit of like that peer respect, whether it's peer respect or like guys looking up to you, it's kind of like that confirmation, like, okay, they're seeing what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I could probably tell you, now think about it. The memories are playing in my head.
Yep.
I'd say the moment I felt like, I got this, was when TJ, when he before the whole going to Arkansas thing,
right.
TJ had to leave for whatever reason, and he goes truck's in control because he knows what's going on. And I was like, yeah,
there you go.
Damn right I do. No,
no, I think it's fine to feel that way. There's got to be a little bit of there's a way to have confidence without being arrogant.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I think a lot of guys.
That's the issue with a lot of guys.
It's a tough spot to inhabit. You know what I mean?
Very little gray area.
Right. Well, there's all those guys that come up and maintain like that false humility, or even like become like focus on kind of that self-deprecation thing, because they're afraid of getting arrogant. Right. As soon as they start to feel a little bit of like, yeah, I got this. Or yeah, I'm good at this. They don't want to be like, oh, I don't want to be arrogant, so I'll just stay back here and kind of, oh, I'm crap. I don't know, I'll never get this. They lack that. They never make that confidence. They just always second guess and doubt and don't let themselves accept like, hey, I know how to do this. But then there's all those other guys that just skip that completely, and they're like, as soon as they start to get a little confidence, they're like, well, obviously I can do this thing, so I must know everything.
Yeah.
And they just cross straight over that, and it's like, okay, man, look, you don't know nothing.
Big difference between arrogance and confidence. You're not really. Yeah, like you said, we've dealt with those guys before. Where
they're all over the Indy scene.
Actually, they're all over everywhere. I mean,
yes, they are all over everywhere. They are all over everywhere. You meet them in the gym. You meet them in office. The office work. You meet them at. Wherever you meet them at the restaurant, for sure.
Yeah, I'll not to derail it, but that's one of the things I really enjoyed about wrestling was that it taught me how to grab, to really, push myself.
Yeah.
And I pushed myself all the way to get in the tryout and all the way, to 2011, when all that went down.
Yep.
With the being too old thing,
right?
Went through some moments of hardship and I got to get over this. But then once I picked myself back up, I kind of stepped back and realized that I made it that far. Like if I would have started 2 years ago, 2 years sooner, I would have been that's where I'd be right now. I can't do that now.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I can't do it in other aspects of life. Mm-hmm. So at my real job, that's what I started doing. I started doing things, and I actually got supervisor, and then I got to be a superintendent, and that was that's wrestling taught me how to do that in real life. So just really pushing yourself, and driving. That's all. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, man, that's all. We're just gonna pick it back up, act like nothing happened.
Oh, okay.
So I was saying, man, I'm really glad that it kind of came to this spot, because I do believe, that when you get out and chase that passion and start to feel like success in that passion, for us it's wrestling, and when you start to feel yourself getting better and kind of succeeding at this thing, and it builds that confidence not just in this thing, but it builds that confidence in your own ability to succeed, right? So it starts to bleed out into other parts of your life where you aren't afraid to jump out and kind of grab that brass ring. And I think it's so cool that we've kind of come to this conclusion, or we've kind of come to this talking about it with you, because we definitely came to it talking about it with Danny, with Spencer Powers, and kind of how his wrestling journey helped him to
get out of the comfort zone.
Yeah, and gave
drive and comfort zone.
Right, and gave him the confidence to kind of pursue his internet thing and his Pixel Dan thing and to do that. So,
because you got to be pretty comfortable to learn how to wrestle in front of people.
Yeah.
In a pair of underwear.
Yep.
And that's So you get that comfort zone.
Right.
And to be able to the thing that wrestling's taught me is how to deal with people. You can read their emotions out their face and to know what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. And same with the drive. Like I said, whenever I finally, I guess you can say when I finally transitioned into that I got this mentality, that's when that drive really started coming into it. And let's see how far we can take this.
Yeah.
I strapped that rocket on my back, man. I went with it. Went with, AAPW was probably one of my favorite moments where it really pushed it into overdrive. They were doing syndicated shows. And that's where I started getting my pre-training for TV tapings.
Yeah.
They had a syndicated show they were doing when Fight TV was first starting, and the Fire Stick. They first had their when it first came out. We were doing shows for them, or they were doing TV tapings for them, and put it on a whole new level. Where now I'm not just wrestling in front of the crowd; I'm wrestling for people that'll be watching this on TV. And it really paid off because that's when all the Facebook requests come in and all the social media, and it was showing that these were people were watching this.
Yeah.
So this little monitor right here, it's not just you and me; it's all those people out there that are watching it. So your comfort zone has to be on a whole new level.
Right.
When you're wanting to perform and succeed at something like that, your drive has to be even harder.
Yeah.
To get to that new level.
Yep. Perfect, man. Well, man, I think that's a great place to end this. Those are some great wrestling lessons, some great life lessons that you got through wrestling, man. So we're going to wrap it up for today. Next week, we're going to be back. When we come back next week, we are going to dig in and talk about your wrestling philosophy, your philosophies on wrestling. So,
man, that's going to be deep.
So deep.
Yes.
So deep. Thank you guys for joining us. This has been Legends in My Own Mind, and my legend this week is Truk. I can't thank him enough for stopping by and chatting with us, and hopefully you guys will join us next week. We'll see you right back here for Legends in My Own Mind with Truk Thompson.